I'm glad to say that the initial problems have been largely overcome, and we're witnessing the advantages in faster processes at the port and less opportunities for corruption with the reduction of human interface. ICOMS, when it was introduced, provoked a lot of controversy. At the moment, we are seeing the benefits. Indeed, customs revenue prior to the implementation of ICOMS for the period June 19 to May 20 stood at 11.5 billion cedis. Between June 2020, the start of ICOMS, and May 2021, teething challenges, ill-considered propaganda, and the impact of COVID-19 on global trade notwithstanding, customs revenue has increased by 27.6% to 14.36 billion cedis. Indeed, customs revenue for 2021 stood at 16.8 billion cedis, as opposed to 20.3 billion cedis in 2019, when ICOMS had not been implemented. The digitization of hospital records has started through the Lightwave Health Information Management System. We started with the teaching hospitals, and we plan to work in a phased approach to cover every health facility in Ghana. I'm sure this will be a welcome innovation for all. We have learned the very hard way. The first step to prosperity in Africa is for our countries to trade among each other. It is the reason we campaign for and supported and proudly host the Continental Office of the AFCFTA. Trading under the African Continental Free Trade Agreement officially commenced on 1st January 2021, and Ghana was the first country in Africa to establish custom procedure codes to facilitate trading under the AFCFTA. We've established a national AFCFTA coordination office to facilitate activities. We have high hopes that the AFCFTA office, which we proudly host, will bring urgency to growing trade amongst the African states. Possibly, and probably, the most significant steps towards making this African trade possible was taken in Accra a few weeks ago with the launch of PAPS, the Pan-African Payment and Settlement System. This is a leading-edge technology connecting African banks, payment service providers, and other financial market intermediaries to enable instant and secure payments between African countries. It means a trader in Ghana can order supplies in Kenya with cedis and buy it in Kenyan shillings and not have to go through dollars or euros or pounds sterling. This will simplify the historical complexities and costs of making payments across African borders and provide operational efficiencies to open up vast economic opportunities for all stakeholders. It means we have a simplified process that reduces the costs and complexities of foreign exchange for cross-border transactions between African markets and enables innovation in cross-border trade and access to new African markets. Mr. Speaker, if we campaign so hard for the opening up of trading among African states, we had better have something to sell. I'm glad to report that despite the adverse effects of the COVID-19 pandemic on firm-level production and productivity, as well as the disruption in global supply chains, the manufacturing subsector showed significant recovery last year. Manufacturing recorded an average growth of 7% in the first half of 2021, compared to 0.7% in the corresponding period in 2020 at the beginning of the pandemic. Our flagship One District, One Factory initiative is being implemented with business promoters being empowered and supported to establish new factories or to transform existing manufacturing enterprises to contribute significantly to job creation across the country. Mr. Speaker, through the 1D1F initiative, the Made in Ghana label is being stamped on a wide range of products proudly manufactured in Ghana. Out of a total of 278 1D1F projects at various stages of implementation in all the 16 regions, 106 factories are currently operational. 148 are under construction, while 24 projects are at mobilization stage. Mr. Speaker, in order to bring the youth on board the 1D1F program, 58 out of the 278 1D1F projects have been developed as enterprises fully owned by youth groups with direct government support. Each of these 1D1F youth companies are owned by between 40 and 50 youth as shareholders. In addition, 5 medium-scale state-of-the-art agro-processing common user facilities have been established with direct support from government and are owned by various groups of farmers whose farming operations have previously been undermined through lack of processing facilities. These farmer-owned companies have been established in 5 districts, namely Doma West, Savalugu, Sefia Kontombra, Setra Central, and Takwa in Swayem. They cover oil processing, rice milling, and the processing of maize into maize grits. Mr. Speaker, quite a number of global vehicle manufacturing companies have set up assembly plants here in our country and started producing vehicles for our market and for the West African market. The well-defined Ghana Automotive Development Policy we outlawed in August 2019 has facilitated this welcome development. Since June 2021, Toyota and Suzuki brands of vehicles are being produced here, commencing with the production of Hilux, pickup, and Swift models. VW, Volkswagen, and Sinotruk, which commenced commercial operations in 2020, have continued to assemble their brands of vehicles and are enjoying significant local patronage. In addition, a new state-of-the-art assembly plant with capacity to assemble 5,000 new vehicles per annum has been established by Nissan in Tema, which is currently producing Nissan and Peugeot brands of vehicles for the Ghanaian and West African markets. I will have the pleasure to commission this new plant in Tema tomorrow. 3 other vehicle manufacturers, namely Kia, Hyundai, and Renault, are also expected to commence commercial production this year. Our national iconic automobile brand, the Atinka brand, produced by Atinka Automobile Company Limited, also stepped up production of its Made in Ghana vehicles, which include Nkunimdie SUV, Omama pickup, Onate 4x4 pickup, Otumfor SUV, and K71 small SUV models. Now that the Minister for Finance has announced an embargo on the importation of 4x4 vehicles for official use, I hope the local assembly plants will take full advantage of the opportunity, especially since government is continuing with its policy of giving first priority to locally assembled vehicles in respect of all publicly financed procurement of vehicles. Mr. Speaker, we have proof beyond the education, agriculture, and manufacturing sectors to show that we have been using state revenue to expand infrastructure across other sectors and improve lives. For the first time in our history, we are doing something about the infrastructure needs of the judiciary on a major scale. A courthouse is an essential element of the architecture of a state dedicated to the promotion of the rule of law. And yet, there are large areas of our country that are not served by any court, and people have to travel long distances to access the services of a court. Unfortunately, as a former Chief Justice once put it, the conditions of most of the court facilities around the country where they exist are not fit for purpose. We have thus embarked on a project to provide 100 courthouses and accompanying residences for judges and magistrates around the country. 50 of them are being built and are near completion and should be handed over to the judiciary soon. Mr. Speaker, 121 residential units for the judiciary are also being built across the country. Furthermore, 22 new modern townhouses are being constructed at Denyame in Kumasi to address the accommodation challenges facing Court of Appeal judges assigned to the northern sector. Some of you might remember that work began some 20 years ago on the construction of Law House, a proposed new office accommodation for the Office of Attorney General and Ministry of Justice. A 12-story edifice consisting of 10 floors above ground and 2 stories underground. Work on the project has stopped many years ago. I'm glad to say that not only has the project been resurrected, I'm told it is expected to be completed by the end of this year. Mr. Speaker, whilst on the subject of law enforcement, the passage of the Right to Information Act, the Witness Protection Act, the amendment of the Criminal Offences Act, and other laws have enhanced significantly the capacity of the state in the fight against corruption. It is also an undeniable fact that budgetary allocations for institutions actively engaged in public sector accountability, that is the Office of the Auditor General, the Judiciary, Parliament, and the Ghana Police Service, have witnessed significant increases since I assumed office in 2017. Furthermore, we now have a new special prosecutor who appears to have all the wherewithal necessary to exercise vigorously the prerogatives of his office. Mr. Speaker, it is in the road sector that we have registered the greatest infrastructure achievement. I know that the word unprecedented is often used with careless abandon in our public discourse, but I use it carefully and purposefully. In the 5 years of my government, so far, more roads have been built, improved, and upgraded than at any equivalent period under any government in the history of Ghana. Some 10,885 kilometers of new roads have been constructed in these 5 years. Let me mention, Mr. Speaker, that yesterday it was my honor and great pleasure to have commissioned the Tamale interchange. The first such interchange in the northern sector of our country, which the people of Tamale gladly celebrated. I considered it to be a most satisfying birthday present. We intend to continue with the building of roads around the country to accelerate the opening up of our country. Excuse me. Mr. Speaker, we have kept to our promise and kept the lights on in spite of worldwide upheavals in the energy sector and in spite of the huge legacy debts we inherited. We've almost completed the process of restructuring these debts to reduce their crippling effects on our public expenditure. With the introduction of more bulk supply points in areas such as Kasoa and Pokuase, power transmission has improved tremendously in the southwestern and northwestern parts of Greater Accra. Power lines are getting upgraded to reduce commercial and technical losses and increase transmission capacity. Under the National Electrification Scheme, a total of 279 communities have been connected to the national grid. This has increased the national electricity access rate from 85.7% in 2020 to 87.3% as of January 2022. 487 more communities are at various stages of connection and completion. We are on course to achieve our ambition of universal access to electricity by the end of my term as the President of this country. The accommodation problems, Mr. Speaker, facing the military have long been matters of national sadness. I'm glad to say that the first stage of the military housing project, dubbed the Barracks Regeneration Project, has started with construction going on at all garrisons across the country. The military academy at Teshi is being modernized, and we're keeping our armed forces retooled and equipped to enable them to live up to their duties. Each of the different branches of the armed forces, the Army, Navy, and Air Force, has received significant financial assistance to upgrade its logistical bases and strengthen its capabilities, and its welfare requirements are being substantially addressed. We're building modernized armed forces with higher numbers of personnel that will be fit to meet the demands of the 21st century. The protection of our borders puts extra burden on the military, especially since there's increased terrorist activity in the region and instability in many of our neighboring countries. 15 forward operating bases, or FOBs as they are called, are being constructed across the country to help in the prevention of cross-border crimes and terrorist activity. Mr. Speaker, I believe we can all testify that our police service is undergoing a great improvement and a change of image before our very eyes. During times of anxiety, we need a responsive police service to boost the confidence of the population, and it is good to see the police rise up to the challenge. Nothing starts people off in a bad mood more than the driving habits and traffic jams that create chaos on our roads and make every road journey a nightmare. Gradually, the police are bringing order to the roads, and we all now know that the law is no respecter of persons or vehicle types. I urge all of us to cooperate with the police to perform their duties to enable all of us go about our lives in peace. I'm happy to state the government has been able to provide much needed modern equipment for the service, and we're constructing 320 housing units at the National Police Training School, which are at an advanced stage of completion. Work is also going on the construction of a huge barracks complex at Kwabinya to replace the one adjacent